so that when you are fully awake, you know who you are, and you know that you are the one that you're now experiencing in an enlightened state, that you are the same one that you were when you seemed to be in ignorance.
It seems like part of that transformation means letting go of the myriad of ideas about who I am.
Indeed.
So it would seem like, since I'm going to get rid of them anyway,
Go on.
and I guess I'm just wondering, it's like, why? I'm not sure why that's so important. Or maybe you could help me understand why it's so important I have a sense of who I am, because this sense I have is usually loaded with all these illusions about it not being enough.
But you pick the illusions up on purpose. The illusions are like garments you have put on, and you continue to wear them for a reason. And you must take them off. And be as much on purpose in taking them off as you were on purpose in putting them on. When I use the word on purpose here, I'm not meaning correct. I mean that you put each garment on for a reason. And in order to take them off, you must see the reason you put it on in the first place and decide again and take it off. You are the one who has created your particular set of illusory definitions of yourself, and you must release them consciously.
So does that mean like trying to work backwards and look at like the psychological defenses might be rooted in some childhood experience, and you go back and you say, okay, well, I do this because my mom did that, and so now I have to, because I've done a lot of that, and it just seems like a poor use of my time.
Now, we're not talking about psychologizing here.
Good.
We are talking about getting to know yourself within well enough to recognize, like the lady here, that underneath she's been saying no to life. She didn't need to find out whether it was something her mother did in this lifetime or whether it's been brought forward from 5 lifetimes ago, during which all of those lifetimes she was saying no. That doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition of a use of her mind that she's putting her mind to today that doesn't work to her benefit, so that she can set it aside. Now, you don't need to search for them. Your simple desire to wake up, your simple desire to be curious, to see more of reality right in the face of what seems to be awful, let us say, or limited, that in itself is going to bring you up against the last garment you put on. Because in order to see more, you're going to have to discard what's keeping you from seeing more. So, it has to do with learning learning a use of your mind that you have been putting your mind to that is keeping you from your fulfillment. It does not have to do with relationship situations. It has to do with an inner process by which you have further and further estranged yourself from the conscious experience of reality, the conscious experience of who and what you really are, and the conscious experience of inseparable oneness with God.
So what seems to be part of this is that then if I'm inseparable from God, so I'm oneness in God, right? So then how can I not be awake?
Because you do have the capacity to imagine to imagine imaginations, to imagine. You have the ability to give your attention to things that aren't happening. You're able to make believe.
So if I can get rid of the make-believe, then the obvious thing that I am the point of perfection and God and oneness will become clearer.
Exactly.
But it's there, and I got to kind of get it a little clearer. I don't have to become, like you said in the beginning, I like the thing about the spinning around and around. I'm all for falling straight down the hole. and it seems like why don't we just all jump down the hole?
Indeed. I agree. What is it that puts you in the groove that the ball is spinning around at the top of the funnel? I said an act of willfulness. A self-assertive, willful act. If what separated you from the whole, from your conscious experience of being one with it all, was a separate act of will, then the only thing that will promote your arriving at the tip of the funnel faster is to yield to something other than what you decide you want. It is to give up control. If you want to hasten your awakening, ask God what to do at every point in your day and refuse to take personal responsibility for anything. That'll bring you up to your garments real quick. Because all of your garments are insulating you against, you might say, fitting into the hole. It insulates you against feeling need. It insulates you against the uncertainties of involvements. It insulates you against the insecurities you feel you will experience if you don't keep control of everything. You know, thy will be done. Those four words are the scariest words in the world. If you're going to say them, mean them, and embody them here in this world. But when you do that, you abandon an independent stance. You abandon the very thing that got the ball going in the groove to begin with. And to some degree, the more quickly you can let go of self-assertive, controlling acts or willfulnesses, the less momentum the ball will have, and the faster it will arrive at the point of the funnel and come out into infinity. You see? Now, you will wake up as fast as you can let go of your independence. But that's going to mean being willing to be in relationship with the Father, or whatever word you want to use for that which is actually in charge of you and which you're not in charge of at all. And feeling a need to let what is in charge of you hold you tightly in its charge and begin to depend upon it. These are the ways you become involved. You know, you could go to a dance with someone and you could dance the light fantastic all evening, be spectacular out there on the floor, and leave and come home and say, I was really involved tonight. You should have seen us. We were really involved. Or you could have gone to the same dance, left the dance feeling like that, and on the way home, your tire blew out on the car rolled over the side of a hill and rolled over a number of times, and you were in a very precarious position, and the two of you working together without any reluctances to be aware of each other's needs and to do your best to meet them, you finally get yourself back up to the road, and you say, boy, we were really involved. You see, now where were you really involved? In the dance, at the dance, or at the point where need was being experienced and you both helped each other meet the need because you were involved at the level of need, you see? You know, when a gathering comes and Paul's in the other room and it's time to start, man, he knows he needs me. But after you leave, and he's hungry, or he needs to go to the bathroom, or any of a number of things that he thinks he can do pretty well all by himself, he'll do them and won't be aware that he needs me. You know, he can't move his little finger like this without God. He needs God. You can't take a breath without God. You need God. You can't have a thought. You can't experience the briefest moment of consciousness without the mind that God is that constitutes your mind. You need God. You can't come into an awareness of your need until something has distracted you from your sense of personal capacity. And usually the only thing that will get your attention away from your sense of your capacity to do things pretty well yourself is what you call an emergency. And then you open up, hopefully, and you feel your need, and you ask for help, and because you're undefended against it, because you're not standing up on your own behalf, the help comes. The problem is relieved, resolved, and you say, "Thank God." And you go back to taking care of things yourself, instead of realizing that you just had an experience of the way life really is, and that it shouldn't be terminated. So, tell me what you think I've been saying.
I think what you've been saying is that the reality is that I am part of God, and because of that, I can't do anything without God. And there's nothing that happens with me that isn't from God. And that when I think it's me making my way, that's my fantasy that I'm engaging in.
Exactly.
And that if I will pay attention, and as I let go of those fantasies and keep asking for help and keep saying, "God, it's you, not me. Thank God, thank God, thank God," that being involved in the dance will count, and being involved on the cliff will count. And if I can get as involved in the dance, I might be able to avoid some of the cliffs. But if you can't, it's not really going to matter, because it's going to be God helping you in either place, whether I'm picking my foot up to step a dance or picking my way up a cliff. And so, as scary as it sounds, like, because it sounds a little bit like what you're saying, it's like when you really get involved, you're going to have a lot of, I almost said shitload, a lot of emergencies to keep you saying, "Thank God." I think the answer, though, is yes.
No, I'm glad you said that. Because you said it perfectly a moment ago. If you're on the dance floor and you're really in tune with each other, you're really in touch with the fullness of the music, the fullness of the movement, the fullness of the form, and the two of you together are undefendedly in the movement together, you're involved.
Completely involved.
If the godness of the experience is clear to you, which it could only be if you're really with it, with each other, then you're involved. However, if you're out there on the dance floor, trying to make a good impression so you can lay her there later on in the evening, or to show off to your buddies or people there that you've learned a new step, you're not involved. You see? Usually, what gets you in touch with your need is an emergency of some sort. But hey, this afternoon, us talking, us being together, is an equal opportunity for being involved. And it's not an emergency.
And preferable to the emergencies I've had in my life.
It is a more pleasant process. But if one suffers from stubbornness, then the experience of need will get as pointed as it needs to get. As you begin to, how shall I put it? As you begin to value yielding to guidance, yielding to inspiration and revelation that occurs within you, the process becomes more graceful. What bothered you in the past will not be what bothers you now. And eventually what will bother you most is when you slip off the track from yielding to the movement into self-will, because there's a definite difference of experience within you. One is blissful, one is unpleasant. And so, having no money, or losing your job, or the sorts of things that would put you up against, would give you a real sense of emergency, will not be the things that give you that sense of emergency. It will be the shift in feeling when you move from being on the beam, being in the movement of your being, and shifting into willfulness. You see?
It feels like I might be ready to do that.
Yes. That's me, Paul, laughing. Because the feeling that Raj was communicating was, have fun. Except that I, Paul, throughout my time with him, have had many places where, so to speak, I've walked up to the edge, and I have felt like he's gone like this. Have fun. And for those who can't see me, it's like I was using my hand, like flicking a finger, like he comes up behind me and flicks his finger, and over the edge I go. And as I'm falling, he's saying, have fun. Now, I have to clarify, that's what it feels like when it happens. But I find out that the next step was at the same level. There was no cliff. I thought there was a cliff. I thought it was scary. But my foot, I don't fall. My foot comes down right at the same level, but a millimeter or a foot forward, you know. So that's why I was chuckling, because he was conveying, you know, have fun. And I know what that means. Okay. I didn't mean to belittle in any way what I know you're expressing. I will say this. As you give permission, in light of the fact that you would like to drop straight through the hole, I will advise you never to abandon your common sense. There is no way for you to yield radically. So don't try to make it happen fast, because, of course, that employs force or human will, which is exactly the opposite of what you're really willing to do at this point. And it also will provide you with evidence of the fact that it's willfulness and not yielding, and result in your doing things that are unwise. Don't abandon your common sense until yielding has provided you with a new common sense. It is quite possible to be spiritually radical like a person who's taken LSD and said, I can fly, and jumps off a building. I'm willing for you to lift me up, God. I am willing for you to demonstrate my deathlessness. Jump. That flies in the face of common sense. If you want to levitate, stand on the first step. Because if you are going to be able to fly, you can do it from there just as easily as a 20-story building. And if it doesn't work yet because your faith is not great enough or whatever, you will not suffer injury, you see. Yielding really means yielding. It means saying, Thy will be done, God, in your time, even if it's going to be 1,000 years before my next glimpse of reality. When Paul first sat down to try to get in touch with me because he was experiencing need he couldn't deal with, and he didn't even know if there were such things as guides, etc. He sat down every night for 2 weeks and meditated, and then said, if there are such things as guides, and if I have one, will whoever it is please speak up? And then he would shut up and listen for an hour. And if he didn't hear anything, he would go to bed. As the days went by and it became closer to 2 weeks,